Hi, my name is Connor Quinn. I'm 16 and I'm a portrait and landscape photographer based out of Zanesville, Ohio. And this video is to explain to you why I recently made a switch from my full-frame Nikon D810 to this crop sensor Fujifilm X-T3, which I'm currently recording on. One of the most important reasons to me in a camera is the build quality and the functionality of the camera. And this is something where Fujifilm really exceeds over its competitors. It has dedicated aperture. It has like an aperture on almost every lens. It has dedicated knobs and dials for shutter speed and ISO, all of your different shooting modes like your drive settings, and even your exposure compensation. And this is really important for people who want to change dials on the fly, and even street photographers who just want to get that film feel like these old film cameras. So secondly, with mirrorless you can adapt lenses. So I bought this lens at Goodwill for $6.99, and I have a $12 or $13 adapter, and you can simply just screw this lens on the adapter and connect it to the put it like straight on the camera. And like I said before, this Fujifilm really screams the like the film era kind of photos, and especially with their color science, which I'll talk about later, and these older vintage lenses, the photos like truly look like they're shot on an old film camera, and it really gives you like a good vibe and a step above the competition. So the Fujifilm X-T3 uses what's called an X-Trans sensor design over the typical Bayer sensor. The Bayer sensor can be found in like almost every normal camera out there, where the X-Trans is something that is designed in-house and built by Fujifilm. So this X-Trans sensor has a different pixel layout, and I think that this is what really accommodates for those famous Fujifilm colors that everyone's always talking about. It really sets them apart from the competition. The colors are everything. Video is a really big draw to the Fujifilm system today. So it can shoot 4K at 200 megabits a second, which is leading in its class, and especially in its sensor size. Companies like Panasonic with their Lumix GH series, they can also shoot at 4K 60 frames a second, but it's a micro 4/3 sensor, which is much smaller than, let's say, what's in the new Fujifilm X-T3. The lack of sharpness on some of the lenses in the Fuji line is a draw to me. A lot of people would consider the lack of a lens being extremely sharp a bad thing, but in my case I really don't. So with my Nikon D810, which I just recently sold, since it has such a high resolution sensor, it's 36 megapixels, I would constantly just feel the urge to zoom in to 200% and look at it like practically on a pixel by pixel level, and that just isn't important to the image. When I'm printing photos, that's not what it looks like. Actually, let me go grab one of my prints. So this photo right here was taken very recently, actually a few days ago, and it's a cabin, and right under here there's like where a lake would go, and I use these pine needle trees and pine trees. I use these pine trees to kind of frame the shed there, and I think it looks really nice. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you're printing on even this, which is a 13 by 19, it like the quality doesn't really matter. Like even if you press your face up to it, you're not going to see any loss of quality. You can't tell a 50 megapixel image from a 26 megapixel image on even larger size prints like this. The Fujifilm prime lenses, at least the f2 line, tend to have like a kind of a similar look, at least between the 35mm and the 23mm that Fujifilm offers. And the look that this gives is almost like a softer look, which I would prefer over something like, their sharper lenses, like let's say the 50 to 140. This softer look combined with their sensor design really gives like these awesome colors, like I showed in this image right here. It's spectacular. I really can't get enough shooting with this camera. And with the the buttons and dials, you know, the way that they're laid out on top, just like film cameras. It's really, really fun to shoot with this camera. And it's something that I wouldn't have got if I bought something like the Nikon Z6 or a Sony A7 III, which is a lot of the close competitors to the Fujifilm X-T3. All in all, I've been really happy with my switch to the X-T3 from my D810. It's been a really pleasant camera to use, and I just really love shooting with it. It really drives my passion for photography even further. It's so much fun to shoot with. The colors, the fact that I can adapt these lenses, the lenses that, you know, are with the Fujifilm system, which are very well regarded, are just awesome. They're fantastic. I just love everything about this camera system. It really took me a while to find a system like this. The Sony's glass is just, it kind of has that like too sharp, sterile look to it, and their lenses are very expensive compared to something like this. I realize that it's full frame glass, but this is just plenty for me, and I really love it. I've been so happy with this camera, and I really haven't looked back since. It really reminds me of shooting on my film cameras, which I so dearly love. All in all, I've been really happy with my switch to the Fujifilm X-T3. It really was an upgrade coming from my D810, even though I'm primarily a landscape and portrait photographer. Usually a landscape photographer would need more resolution like the Nikon D810 offers, but I really find this 26 megapixel sensor to be perfectly adequate. The color science and everything along those lines has just been great. The skin tones when I'm taking portraits are just spot on perfect. Like, I couldn't ask for anything more. I'm very happy with my decision to switch. The lens lineup, the colors, I haven't even talked about autofocus, but everything just works so well with the way that I shoot, especially the tactile controls. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope that this aided your journey if you're looking to get an X-T3. I know that I've been very happy with it. But yeah, thank you. Goodbye.